Aloha everyone and welcome to another Tinkers Academy video. I'm your host Kay Elmer, and this video I'm going to be going over the recent contest results that Leela Quantum Tech had when they opened it up to all of the members to create a molecular frequency set that would help with pain management. So what happened from that contest was really the first time that I, as somebody who's been doing, kind of tinkering around with putting together these frequency sets for years, this was the first time that I'd ever had a clear, winner. I mean, basically a clear accepted set of frequencies that said, yeah, this is great. This is the best one out of a whole bunch of them, compared to the one that I had, created myself. In other words, there's never been a time up till now where I've actually been able to do a really good analysis of what's a great, frequency set compared to what I was thinking it could be. And so I just really did some analysis on it, and I wanted to share it with you because I think it's really important for those of you guys who are tinkering around with frequencies, that we can learn from this. And then fine tune our craft, so to speak. But the idea though is that this is the first time that I've ever been able to just say, oh, okay, great, this is what works. Now I can then try to model off of what works and breaking it down through analysis. So I just kind of wanted to just share my thoughts with you on what had happened and my submission versus the winning submission. And so, if you're interested in that, great. If not, then it's probably not your thing. But this is all about coming up with frequencies that help your body with health and healing and performance and longevity. So if you're someone who tinkers around with frequencies and you want to learn more about which ones to use or how to use them, then you might find this interesting. So there you go. Anyway, let's jump right into the content. So the very first thing I kind of want to point out was just kind of my history. I've been working with Philip at Leela Quantum Tech for 4 years now, and I have created some boosters that are available on the site and through Quantum Upgrade. And to kind of give you an idea, it's not my primary area of interest. I do a lot of different things, so I kind of tinker around with it. But over the last few years, I've submitted 9 different frequency sets to Philip for evaluation, and then he's chosen 5 of those. So I got a 56% hit rate on submitting things that end up working and then get available to the public. And when I say end up working, the process has been where I submit it to Philip, and then he has his healer network review the frequency, right? And then if they pick up the right vibration, they pick up the right everything that's involved in that. These people are very gifted and talented, and they have gifts that normal people don't have. So when they can sense that this thing does what we want it to do or what it's supposed to do. So once it gets the green light from the healer network, then it usually goes out to 20 or so folks who then go and do they just run a test on it, and then if we get 20 positive responses from the frequency, then it goes out for sale. So there's quite a bit of an evaluation and a QA process for what's on the website. So if you see it for sale, then it's gone through this process by which they're selling something. They don't want obviously they don't want to sell anything that doesn't work. So that's how they do it. So. But again, I've only submitted 9, and for those of you that use the service, that the men's booster and the women's booster have been around since the inaugural set of products that went out on day 1, and they've been very popular all these years. And to me, I kind of like when I created those 2, it was just I had no idea what I was doing. It was literally my first attempt, and I just got lucky. I really feel I got lucky with how to figure that one out. But now, what's happening now with this contest, with the pain management contest, has been complete game changer in just being able to learn more about how to do this. And I think this is really important from that standpoint, if this is something you're into. And I think it's, to me, frequency medicine is the future. And so, but if this is what you're into, because you know why? There were 70 people that had submitted entries for the contest for the quote, the best pain management. And only 4 ended up clearing the process and getting turned into a product. And so that's like only 6% were chosen out of the 70. 64 people kind of, missed the mark. And, nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's great. You're all tinkering. I'm one of the ones that missed the mark, and I feel, hey, that's no problem at all. I mean, this is a learning experience as far as I'm concerned, and congratulations to the winners. So for the first time ever, I'm like, oh, great. Now I have an example of what I submitted and what was what worked. And so, I want to understand what the differences are. What are the nuances in what worked? So that's what I've been doing. And that's what this video is about. So now that's been my experience with boosters. And so just to kind of give you an idea, my approach towards making frequency sets, and I make a lot more sets than you'll ever hear about, because I don't submit them all to Philip. I make a whole bunch just for me, for my family, for my dogs. I'm always tinkering around with that. So I don't try to get them on the website or anything. That's not really my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is helping myself and my family. But the approach that I've always taken when I want to try to figure something out, and I just wanted to share just the approach is that I look at a whole body approach. And so when I approached, and I'll show you what I did with the pain management, I approached it from the whole body, okay, so what are all the ways that the body itself, manages pain? And then I looked at, that's the internal forces. And then the external forces I looked at were what were the kinds of drugs and peptides and supplements that then could help the body, actually not even help the body, but actually mask that stuff, right? But anyway, so what could you take for pain versus what you could take to help your body help itself with pain, external, I mean, it's external and internal. And then I looked at, overall, how do the frequencies, what frequencies would support, managing pain from a biofield standpoint, and also from your foundational health. I mean, there's this issue about, we're all sort of, deficient in something and blah, 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 and dehydrated and whatever. But the idea, though, is if you've got poor health and you don't address that, then trying to fix a problem you're having as a result of the poor health, you're never going to get to that, that stage, right? Got to cross one bridge at a time. So in trying to create a frequency set, then I look at, how do I support that health as well? Just foundational health, right? And the emotional aspects. I mean, a lot of the times people are feeling, and this is the thing, right? Philip never mentioned when he said, hey, this is a pain management. He never said it was physical pain, right? And so you can just as much have emotional pain, right? And so I kind of looked at it like, okay, he didn't define it. So I looked at it from both perspectives. So emotionally, and then also mental, when people are in pain, you don't think the right way. So how do you help with that? And so that's my, that's kind of my approach. And yes, I overthink everything. I'm extremely left brain. And so, yeah, so, I came from that background. And so that's the approach that I take whenever I make anything. So if you look at what's in the boosters, you'll see the exact same process. You'll see all this stuff in there, in the boosters, and the testosterone one, and the inflammation one, and the allergy one. All the ones that I've made that are for sale on the website, you'll see that, those are the kind of the components, right, that I tried to address. Now, the last thing I want to kind of point out in just my approach towards creating frequency sets is the role of harmonics. And I put out, I did a post a while ago just trying to explain to someone who had asked in the Telegram group. And basically my explanation was, and the way I look at this is it's like cooking. For anybody who's ever took a cooking class, or if you've ever been in music. I mean, I'm not a musician, but I spent years of my life in choirs and choruses and groups, throughout my youth as singing. So, I learned how to read sheet music and all that. And so I understand music, I understand cooking. And I look at that as that's kind of what you're trying to do, because you're taking all of these different things, whether it's ingredients in a recipe or different instruments, and you're combining all of them, and you create this finished product that is not, it's it's basically not the sum of the individual parts, but a whole new thing that does a whole new, different thing than each individual part. And so that's kind of been my approach, is to create a harmonic. That's sort of the music that comes from multiple instruments, or the end result of combining ingredients. So that's how I look at it, and that's been very successful for me in terms of having frequencies sets that I've created that actually do what they're supposed to do. And so that's kind of been my approach, and I wanted to share that with you because this is going to be kind of a learning experience for all of us because there's a new contest now, deadline sometime in September. It was announced last week, where the next contest to create a frequency set is going to be for sleep and rest. And so I think what the Healer Network is thinking, because I haven't talked to Philip about it yet, but I think they're looking at it, seeing if they can come up with a better frequency than they have now, and they're opening it up to the membership because of just the incredible results that they had with the pain one. So there you go. So now the winning one, and this is going to be published. I'll be publishing this video after it's been announced, but the winning entry has only 6 ingredients in it. Which blows me away because I'm like Mr. Overkill, and the boosters have like 62. Even the NutraBio base that Leela sells has like, I don't know, 40 or 50, but it only has 6, and that's what was like the first thing that just, wow, there's only 6, and it worked. It worked really well, right? Because it passed all the clearances and people are using it and benefiting from it, and so I was like, wow. That was my first surprise, was there were so few. And then it was basically organic willow bark, which, as you know, is where aspirin comes from, organic balm tea, which is also known as lemon balm, and then the frequency of stones, right? Because if you're into Reiki, it's all the different rare stones give off all these incredible, and crystals, right? They give off their own frequencies, and so this individual, or Sarah, I believe her name was Sarah, used this frequency of jade stone, and then she included spring water, primal spring water, primal salt, which I believe is probably a brand name. I haven't looked it up yet. And then also she used kana from the kana root, and that was it. And that harmonic that was created through these 6 substances was the winning entry out of 70 people. I mean, that it's pretty amazing. I mean, that's like hitting it out of the park when you're competing against that many other entries. And so this is what I was like, wow, this is so cool. So what I did was, and for my analysis was, I enlisted the assistance of AI. And so kind of just give you an idea, if you're doing this type of analysis, was I basically just simply, and I'll just kind of show you, I plugged in the different 6 substances, and I asked the AI, and I used 3 different ones just to see what the answers were, and basically just said, hey, what are the commonalities of benefits from these 6 substances? And that's what I asked the AI. And so here's what Claude said. Basically, it's like, hey, I've now analyzed these substances. And by the way, Claude earlier had told me, hey, I asked it, hey, can you help me analyze? And it said, yeah. And when it analyzes, it's looking at, if you give it a list of stuff, it's looking at chemical structure, physical properties, functional groups, origins, uses, biological effects, chemical react. So, so the AI is going to do all that hard work for you. All right. So that's kind of my tip of the day here is, AI is helpful. And so I kind of ran it through the AI, and it basically came out with all of these commonalities between the 6 different substances. And I'll go over the highlights in a second. So then I checked with Copilot. Now, Copilot is the one that Microsoft has. And so now I asked the same question of Copilot, and Copilot came out with pretty much the same information. Basically, it analyzed each one of them individually, though, which was interesting because Claude kind of just pumped out, here are the commonalities, and it didn't break it down. But what Copilot did was it listed each one individually and said, this is what it does, and your brain still has to be the one to figure out what the commonality was. So Copilot was not as helpful, but it did list the benefits. Now Gemini, which was Google's, was completely useless in this experiment. So if you're going to be doing this in the future and you want to analyze anybody else's, then what I discovered, and this was something I learned from this analysis, was Copilot was actually the best AI to use in terms of trying to use something that would help you do an analysis. So anyway, so this is what it came out with. Basically, this summed it up. That the commonalities of the winning entry for the pain management frequency were that the substances were of natural origin, they were focused on traditional or alternative medicine, they had herbal components, they were organically certified, they had potential wellness applications, they were non-pharmaceutical, right? And they were plant-derived substances, and there was diverse forms, right? There was diversity amongst the substances because in their different forms, right? And then, of course, they had potential mood or cognitive effects. So all of these points were what was common, which is what, when you look at harmonics, you want to find the commonalities to create that harmonic. And so this is really what was interesting that popped out of what Claude had said about this. So now when you take a look at this and you say, well, this is what it took to win, right? The contest. So then if you look at my failed entry and I missed the mark on this, I had 29 different things, and I'll show you a spreadsheet that I keep where I tracked all the different effects, and I was trying to hit the mark, on all the different things that I mentioned in the whole body approach. And so I had stuff from all over the map, and I'll tell you why in a second, but I had 29 different things. And when I pumped that list into Claude came back and said, hey, your commonality between your substances, well, it didn't say that, but that's what the response was. It said, hey, this is your substances commonality where they were focused on pain management, mood and neurological effects, and peptides and growth factors, natural compounds, because I do try to stay natural as much as I can. And there were spicy, pungent compounds, which I don't think Claude realized why I put them in, and I'll explain that in a second. But they had cognitive effects, right? They were bioactive, and there were diverse routes of administration. And this is the commonality of what I submitted. And this was wrong. It didn't hit the mark. And so I'm thinking, wow, so let's take a look at the two. So let's take a look at what, hey, what are the commonalities of winning versus the commonalities of not winning. Okay. And so this is my spreadsheet that I kind of keep track of my boosters. And just to kind of give you an example, I basically, the men's boosters was 5 separate boosters combined into one. And then there was an eventual breakout because some customers were asking for a separate one just for testosterone, because I broke that one out. And then this is the woman's booster. Same thing, except I swapped out the testosterone one for a Wahine, Hawaiian for women. So women's stuff versus men's stuff. And then these are the boosters I've been working on that I'd submitted already. And these are my fails. These are the ones where I didn't hit the mark. So like I'd submitted an energy booster because I wanted something for I just wanted to have a frequency that would boost my energy, which is what Leela eventually developed on their own, which they did a completely separate thing. Mine didn't work, but they created one that did work, which is called the Olympic frequency. I was looking at cardio, like how to help you with your cardio, and the answer came back where the Healer Network evaluated my frequency and said the energy booster was not good. It made them all kind of like jittery, like too much coffee. And the cardio booster, they said it worked, but it was so subtle that they barely felt it. But then they liked the allergy one. That's how it ended up on for sale. They liked the inflammation one. That one worked really well. I did a Calm for dogs, and this is what's funny. The Healer Network actually tested it out and said it worked, but then they found a better one. And I always, I'm like, hey, go for it, obviously. So the better one is the Calm for animals. So that was so that mine didn't, I didn't make the mark. I didn't win that one. And then this is my pain management one, and I'll talk more in depth on that one. But you can kind of see, like I just did an ultimate water. I did a grounding. And then, of course, I'm working on different boosters right now, just as an FYI. I'm looking at something that will help stem cell growth, something for cancer support, anti-parasitic, spike proteins, blah, blah, blah. So you can see, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm into this, and this is what I do. But anyway, let's talk about the pain one. So now, not just commonalities now, let's take a look at the effects of the substances. So when I went through the AI responses and I extracted the specific comments within each answer that would kind of define what the effect of as it relates to pain management of each one of these substances. So kind of let's going down the list here. The 6 that Sarah had chose were basically one that was focused on pain and fever reducing. The next one was a sedative and calming, then soothes nervous system, reduce oxidative stress, decrease hypertension, anti-inflammatory and antibacterial, and euphoric and anxiety reducing. So it's like, so that was the effect. So you're mixing up all of those effects, right, derived from substances, and she created this harmonic that was, knock out of the park. I mean, she just, hands down, you beat 69 people. Congratulations, who are trying to do the same thing. So that's remarkable. But that was her approach, and it worked. So, so when you compare that to now, this is what my approach was. And this is where I think, having, kind of like an armchair scientist left brain mind kind of failed me on this one. Because the first thing I thought of, and I know other members had mentioned, one other member mentioned that they work in anesthesiology. And so they were basically, commenting that they had used some of the same anesthesia drugs that I had used. Because my daughter is, a veterinarian technician working in anesthesiology. So I called her up and I'm like, hey, what do you use for your surgeries you're in? And so she gave me a list of what she uses. And so this is kind of how I came up with my list. But basically, I included 7 specific pain medications. Some of them are for anesthesiology drugs, and some of them are just pain calming tranquilizers and so forth, like trazodone and gabapentin. So, but anyway, so I used drugs. I used hardcore pharmaceutical drugs that that people use in surgeries and people prescribe, or doctors prescribe. So, because I was thinking pain management, right? Well, pain management drugs. So that's what I put in mind. Of course, I tried to address the emotional, effect, because I did. By the way, I researched every one of these individually to see if they would fit. So this took a long time, but I researched it. I researched every single one individually. So as I was researching pain management, the shamanic aspect of pain management came up, and so I thought, okay, well, let's use psilocybin from a shamanic effect. And of course, I got into the peptides. They're all healing peptides, and these are all the specific peptides. There's 6 of them that address pain and inflammation. And then also I got into getting into over-the-counter stuff, and then getting into supplements that reduce pain. Right, so that's when I looked at willow bark and ginger and boswellia and peppermint. So I was looking at the different supplements, not just the drugs or peptides, but also looked at supplements, natural stuff that would then, help, as an external force, help with pain management. And then when I got into the internal force, which was when you look at and you do the research and you say, hey, how does the body react to pain? And the body will produce endorphins, and the endorphins is your natural body's way of managing pain. And so I thought, and I kind of went overkill here. I think I did 8 of these, and I added 8 separate endorphin stimulating substances. And so one of the big endorphin stimulating substances that is kind of was interesting in the research that I didn't know, which were hot peppers. Hot things, food wise, super spicy. So I added in wasabi and ghost pepper and Carolina Reaper. And I put those frequencies in my entry. And then of course, cacao, L-theanine, B vitamins, and ginkgo biloba. So, but that's kind of my approach. So this was my whole body approach that completely failed. And so what's great though, is now you can go, well, this is what worked. This is what didn't work. So what are some of the possible findings that we could kind of learn from this, which is the point of my video. And by the way, everybody who enters the next one, kudos to you for making the effort, and you go, and I hope you all win. I hope the greatest one wins, and kudos to whoever does that. So, but here are the commonalities that when I took a look at my summary, so after looking at all of the data, looking at everything that, my little friend Claude helped me with, looking at all of the stuff that I did, compared it to what Sarah did, and said, hey, you know what? This is, at the end of the day, this is my summary of findings on making harmonics going forward, because now I really, this is a great learning opportunity, and that's why I want to share it with all of you, right? So the very first one is that I need to approach this research. I need to approach the actual research with my feeling brain and not my thinking brain. I put way too much thinking into it, and not only did I do it that way, I put way too much left brain scientific, allopathy, healer kind of mentality into the idea of pain management, and because I just think I overthought it. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is good to know. Now I'm going forward, I start approaching the research from my feeling brain, not the thinking one, right? The next one was keeping everything natural and organic. Obviously, It is not natural organic to use an anesthesiology drug or use naproxen sodium or using gabapentin, all that. So it's just like, don't do that. I mean, I just really feel now it's like if the winning pain management frequency did not have any of that crap in it, then I'm not using that going forward. So I've now kind of just, created something in my head that I'm not doing that. That's not the way to go, right? Because we're trying to do this naturally and organically, right? That's what's best for us. So, the body knows, right? And so now using traditional or alternative medicine, following that path through, with the research and figuring out what the different substances could be. And then of course, diversifying the effects, as you saw in the spreadsheet, there was effects for everything from anxiety to anti-inflammatory to pain to neurological. So, Sarah did this great job of mixing up the effects. I feel I did a great job mixing up effects, but they just were the wrong effects. So Sarah, kudos to you. Okay, and then the next one too is she included something I want to point out was a foundational support for health. And so when she put in spring water, when I first saw this list and I saw spring water and salt, question mark, question mark, question mark. Like, how in the world is that in the pain management frequency? And then when I did the research, I realized, oh, that was the internal force. Because what these two do, right here, what spring water, right, it's minerals. And what is salt? Minerals. But salt also has an critical property of, sustaining our health. So that was like brilliant, Sarah. Brilliant to include that, because I hadn't even thought of that. And then last thing was, the final bullet that I want to share with you for you to think about as you guys work on your own for the next contest would be that less may be best. Instead of 35 or whatever, 29 different, maybe just having one substance per effect, which is what Sarah did, may be the best way to approach it. So there you go, guys. I just wanted to share my analysis because it's the first time I've ever been able to had the opportunity to do it and learn from it. And so that's kind of what I want to do is share it with you. Try this out for the next contest. I'm definitely going to be competing in there with you. I don't really care if I win or not. I think this is just a great thing that we're doing because we're literally creating the best of the best. And knowing that that's going to be available through Quantum Upgrade, or for us to be able to get a hold of it is remarkable. So now it's like with these contests now, I'm just really excited, and I think and I just wish everybody well and good luck on winning the contest. So now thank you, and I really appreciate you guys watching the videos and the kind comments, and I just I really enjoy interacting with all of you guys, and just want to say thanks for watching my videos. And if you like this kind of stuff, like and subscribe, right? And that way you guys can keep up with all the crazy stuff I come up with. Now if you want to learn more about me, what I do, frequencies, stuff, blah blah blah, all that stuff, you can find me at my blog. You just type in tinkers.academy in the URL window of your browser. It goes straight to my blog. Also, I have a Telegram health and healing group where we talk about everything you can imagine under the umbrella of health, healing, longevity, and performance. And so that's kind of where we go. And you can find me there as well. And you also can find me in the 2 quantum groups. So there you go. So hey, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you found this interesting. I hope and then good luck on the next contest. Have a great day. Aloha.